Pass the sauce.
Fighting games are a very interesting subsect of gaming that I think everyone has played at least once in their lives, but somehow is always elusive to the mainstream despite being right in the veil of pop culture. Everyone knows Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, and Tekken to some degree, since you or someone you know probably had one of these games growing up. There comes a time, though, that someone decides that they either want to get good at it and be better than their friends, or they stay in the same casual side of things and play every now and then. If the former applies to you in any form or fashion, then let me point you in the right direction, because any one of you can be good at fighting games. I understand that while you may want to be good at them, it is quite difficult, especially if you're brand new to this type of game. However, the question isn't, can I get good at fighting games? It's, do you want to get good at fighting games? Before we dig in, it's important that we cover something. Like with any skill, and yes, this is a skill, you have to put time and effort into improving. And most importantly, you have to want to get better. There is no way past this, but if you want to get to something like Master Rank in Street Fighter, then you're going to be spending hundreds of hours playing, especially if you are new to fighting games in general. But it is possible. Take Tyler 1 for example. He's a League of Legends streamer who somehow managed to claw his way up to Master Rank as Guile in Street Fighter 6, despite not having much, if any, fighting game skill, and it still took him a minimum of 120 hours. Even someone like myself can do it. I clawed my way out of bronze all the way up to master with a character, and that's when I realized I wanted to make this video. Important interjection, if it wasn't apparent already, I will be using Street Fighter 6 as the main game referenced for the things discussed in this video, as it is the most popular fighting game out right now, and also the primary game that I play. I will talk about other games as well, but wanted to offer a heads up. Keep in mind, though, that most of the information in this video can be carried into almost any other fighting game, and I'll explain why. So you want to improve, but you don't know where to start? Let me give you some tips. First and foremost, with any fighting game, you have fundamentals. They can help you not just in the fighting game you're playing, but they can also be loosely translated to most other fighting games as well. But what exactly are fundamentals? Yeah, you can move around, attack, block, but is that really it, or is it something deeper than that? Well, yeah, of course, it's deeper than that. Fundamentals in a fighting game usually refer to not only the basic movement of the game, but things like the neutral, anti-airs, footsies, not that kind, conditioning, pressure, and so forth. Basically things that are almost fairly universal in a fighting game. You can stop playing Street Fighter and pivot to something like Guilty Gear, Marvel vs. Capcom, or 2XKO, and these concepts will still apply in some form or fashion. I'm not going to spend the whole video talking about fundamentals because that in itself is a whole other video. So for now, just know that you can learn all the combos in the world, but it doesn't really mean anything if you can't even hit your opponent. Fundamentals are important in pretty much any skill and help build up your ability to execute the more demanding sub-skills of anything you're trying to learn. So if you really hammer out and build a strong foundation around your fundamentals, then that will already separate you from your friends at the very least. Something I see a lot of people do is pick up a character and get frustrated because they don't really know what they're doing, and that's totally fine. It's normal. You want to expect to pick up something and just kind of already get a feel for it, but take your time with it. Picking a character and running with it can be a lot, especially when each game has so many to choose from. I do not suggest picking someone and hopping into a ranked or even a casual match because you're going to get cornered and bodied, and that is like a massive demotivator. It may sound boring, but take a character that piques your interest and head right over to training mode. When you're here, take a look at the kit, aka the move list or command list of a character. Try out the kit and understand the basics of what a character can do. I mean, even if you're the type that needs an objective, just go do the combo trials for a character, and when you get stuck, take it piece by piece. Break down each movement separately and slowly try to chain them together. This is huge in helping you understand the kit of a character. Once you get the combo trials down, don't focus on just trying to land that combo in games. Take pieces of those combos, the moves that link to others, like a medium punch and a drive rush or something, and experiment with them. One thing I like to do when I'm learning is when I start up the game, the first thing I do is run through the combo trial of that character. It helps reaffirm the basics of that character while I'm learning and takes you a long way when you're working up the ranks pre-diamond. When you get to the point where you want to hop online and start fighting, something that will get you way ahead of everyone else in your rank is taking the time to take notes and watch your replays. In other words, be studious. I know, it sounds lame, but when you're in the heat of the moment and you get tilted, you can't think straight or you're panicked, We oftentimes overlook very small things that trip us up that we can only really catch when we come back at it with a clearer mind. There have been so many times when I went back and watched a replay that I thought was bullshit, only to find that I was the one who borked it. Not only that, but games like Street Fighter 6 have begun implementing features such as replay takeover, where you can take over specific moments in your replays that allow you to practice a scenario as much as you want. And that's the thing about fighting games. A lot of the stuff you come across is just dynamic puzzles, situations where you got to figure out a solution to kind of get your answer. And when you get that answer, well, you start whooping some ass. I ain't gonna lie, you start beating some ass a little bit. It just kind of naturally happens. As for the final point I can give on improving, and this might be the most important one and perhaps the hardest one to swallow, with every match, take every win, and especially every loss, as a learning opportunity to improve, especially if you are prone to tilting. When you lose, I promise you that 9 times out of 10, it's on you. Don't believe me? Go back and watch those replays. There's a solution hidden there just waiting for you to find it. You just have to look. An additional point that I should add is you really should set goals for yourself. Like, keep them small too. Like, say if you're in bronze or whatever, oh, well, my goal is to get to gold. You know, set that as a goal and then some. I want to get to gold, but now that I'm in gold, let me go to gold too. You know, stuff like that. Start it simple. Keep it chill. So I feel the need to put this section in here because I think it's really important to understand why people get competitive and super into this kind of stuff. It's more than just like, I want to be the best, but let me explain. Fighting games are competitive by nature. It's literally fighting to see who comes out on top. If you're a competitive sort of person who likes a proper challenge, fighting games will be some of the most challenging things to learn in your life. Not only that, but if you're the kind of person who's not the biggest fan of working with a team due to bickering amongst yourselves, relying on others, or the pressure of having others rely on you, then fighting games will be right up your alley.
Pace and point proven right now. Do you understand?
That ass Kingsman, like, shut the fuck up.
You have no one else to blame but yourself and maybe a bad internet connection every now and then. But also you can measure yourself up against everyone else since everyone else is also the adversary. For me, this works perfectly. I like to hold myself accountable for my own skills and I don't want to let other people down. Myself is one thing, but the boys? Hell no. Never the boys. And what better way to do that than to not have to worry about them at all? Contrary to popular belief, fighting games are easier to learn now more than ever. Back in the day, you didn't really have access to all the user-friendly tools put in place to help you get good, and if you did, it was pretty much just clips on YouTube showing you how to do things in like 360p, and even before that, it was like your local cabinet bully putting the pressure on you to get better if you wanted to keep up. Right now, you can hop into any of the newest fighting games and load up a training session specifically tailored to how you want to practice, be it doing drills, practicing scenarios, learning the frame data of a character, and so forth. You just have to be willing to take the time to understand how to set up things for you to practice. Even so, with all of this, why else should you get good? Well, the community is on fire right now. Major tournaments are cropping up left and right. The online scene is booming with one of the biggest weekly online tournaments, Tampa Never Sleeps, being free, which is a fantastic way to learn and get rid of tournament pressure. If you want to be a fighting game fan, like, now is the time to do it. Now, I'm gonna get sappy for a second. If you need no other reason to get good, then look at it like this. We, the fighting game community, still need you, the player who's thinking about picking up fighting games. Without the players in this community, there would be no hype moments, there would be no major tournaments like EVO, there would be no EVO Moment 37, there wouldn't be any of this stuff. So even if you're picking up the controller once, twice, or maybe even 3 times a week, or you go to a local like once a month, just remember, you're still contributing to something super big and super awesome, and with people like you, we will continue to grow and prosper and keep bringing more people into this community. And maybe one day we'll be massive. We're already pretty big. The fighting game community is pretty large, but we keep it going with the players that are interested. I mean, we have these kids across the world like Blaz, 15, 16 years old, whooping ass right now in majors. If he can do it, man, all of us can do it. We can at least go to a local and start beating some ass. And find new friends along the way. Anyway, enough being sappy. Let's move on with the video. So that's cool and all, yada, 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 community, yada, yada, yada. But where can you go to be a part of the action? As I mentioned before, there's the online tournament scene, which is by far the most accessible way to join. There's TNS, but there's also other free ones like NCA that happen every other week or so. These tournaments also have a Discord where you can link up and play with other players. On top of that, there's other Discords out there that I'm sure would be more than happy to have new faces turn up. Think of it as the new challenger approach. I can't speak for everyone, but at least for me, I always enjoy fighting new people and learning how they play. I always find something new to learn, so, I mean, it's a win-win. Even if I lose. The other option is finding some locals to go to, which are weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly tournaments that happen in the surrounding area you're in. If you're in the Atlanta area, you could always come by 404 Esports over in Doraville. This is pretty much where everyone comes for anything fighting game related in the city, so hey, maybe I'll see some of you there. Start.gg is a great way to figure out what's happening around you, and this is kind of the main way people post their tournaments, at least as far as I know. Of course, you may have some other places to check, like Facebook groups, or if you're in college, the Student Center may have some dudes posted up playing something. Unironically, this is how I got into King of Fighters back in the day. But yeah, ask around, look around. Facebook's a great place. Again, start.gg. Plenty of places to look for to find someone that wants to fight. Pivoting back to the fighting games themselves, here are some things that I personally found helpful when it came to learning fighting games and maybe clearing up some misconceptions some of you may have about the genre. To start with, this is what I think people feel like is hard, but in reality really isn't if you take the time to understand it. Terminology. If it ain't fucking inputs, it's definitely words that trip people up. One thing people tend to get overwhelmed with is all the terminology you need to learn for a fighting game. You'll start hearing stuff like meaty, fuzzy, cross-ups, cross-cuts, DP, fireball, blah, 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 blah. A lot of this stuff isn't going to make sense at first, and that's totally okay. That's perfectly normal, I would say, honestly. Shit, there's stuff that I don't even know. These terms are something that will come with experience, so don't worry too much about trying to learn. Yeah, you may not know terms like meaty right off the rip, but just like with a language, when you see an action tied with the word several times over, eventually it'll click. If you're more of the direct definition type of person though, I'll include a guide video in the description that helped me out a ton. Don't overthink it, since at the end of the day, you still gotta learn how to play the game in its most fundamental ways anyway, i.e. movement, buttons, specials, basic combos, yada yada yada. So don't emphasize the need to understand this stuff right off the rip. The next thing I would say is motion inputs. People see this shit and just end it right there. And in some cases, yeah, okay, I get it. But for the most common inputs, like a dragon punch, fireballs, half circles, full circles, charges, it's really not as bad as you think. I'll even break it down for you just to show you why you may be overwhelming yourself. All right, so if you're playing a Shoto, you typically have your fireballs, you have your dragon punches, backwards fireballs, that kind of stuff. And to go over that, I'll show you right here with each variation of the controller. So we have, again, the Kitsune. We'll do a fireball. We're going to do down, forward, essentially, is the input. Down, forward. You kind of want these two to kind of overlap a little bit. So it would look something like that, kind of. And then with that, you put it all together with your punch button, and you get a fireball. Very easy. It's just one fluid motion. Break it down, you know. Do this and speed it up pretty much. And eventually you get your fireball. Same thing for a Tatsu or a backwards fireball. Same input, just reversed. For dragon punches, you can just tap forward, then down, and then forward again. And along with the punch button, this is what you'll typically get. Kind of look like that on the virtual controller. It'll look like this. That's what that Z input is. This is just forward, down, corner, forward, essentially. There you go. That's Dragon Punch. So if you don't have a hitbox or a Kitsune lying around, like most people don't, here's how you do it on a controller. It's kind of the same thing. Not gonna lie. It's the same motions. You just do down, forward, you get your fireball, but this time you kind of want to scoop it with your thumb a little bit. So instead of just doing straight down forward, you'll just do scooped down forward. And just drag that finger along the bottom, just like that. And that's your fireball. Same thing with the Tatsu. You just drag it backwards, do your little kick. And again for DP, forward, down, forward. So, just pretty much that. But that scoop that you have with the fireball, this little thing right here, you want to do that with your DP. Only difference is you're pressing forward first before you do the scoop. So forward, scoop. So, forward, scoop. Like that. There you go. That's a DP. Now, if you're one of those weirdos that uses one of these bad boys like me, well, I'll show you how to do it on here. Same premise on this one. You got your down, forward, and your punch button. Down, forward, punch. Except kind of like on the controller, you want to scoop it. So you'll scoop. So, scoop. Oops. Scoop. 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 Just like that. Same with the DP. You press forward and you scoop. Just like on a controller. Now let's say you want to be a little different. You want to play a special kind of character. Well, you got these little guys that do charge inputs. Charging, even though I'm not a fan, is quite as simple as just doing this. You hold back for about a second, forward. Back for about a second, forward. Just like that. Shortcut you can do, you can hold down back and then forward. That way you can block and not back up and then still hit your charge. Wow. Now, it goes without saying, I don't really need to show you the charge on other characters because it's a charge. You just hold back and you press forward. It's nothing more complicated than that. You just gotta hold the timing down. The timing is the trickiest part by a landslide. For your big meaty boys, you got your half circles and your full circles. An example of this was Zangief. You just kind of hold forward and you kind of go around on a leverless like this. And then eventually you got one of these. Bam. Same with the whole circle. Now the whole circle is a little bit more difficult on leverless. Saying this as someone who does not play a grappler on leverless. Like that. There we go. Took fucking forever. On here, same deal though. You're just gonna pretty much scrub the bottom like that for your half circles. So you hit them with one of these. Bam! Just scrub across the bottom just like that. And on a controller, full circles are much easier to do than on a leverless. Just make sure you get that full execution in your circle when you do it. And finally, grappling on one of these guys. I find these to be the easiest for grappling, like this. You just kind of scrub it across the bottom like that and let it flick back to neutral, just like that. And then for full circles, same shtick. Get that full rotation in your virtual controller. Just like that. That will cover you for most characters in most fighting games. Just take your time and understand how these motions are fully performed, so that way, instead of getting frustrated that they're not coming out, you fully understand what it takes to make those inputs come out. The last thing I'll say people will overcomplicate is numpad notation. Now, personally, I don't prefer it, and I get if it's confusing if you don't regularly use a number pad. In fact, I vastly prefer motion input notation, but to each their own. Your first thought after seeing this picture is probably like, what even is that? Well, to break it down, again, you know the numpad on the side of a keyboard, right? This is how the notation goes from the bottom left starting at 1 and ending in the top right ending at 9. So when you see a fireball input as 2, 3, 6, just think of a keypad and how you'll go from the number 2 to 3 to 6, just like a fireball. Or doing 6 to 2 to 3 for your DP. It's just a way to describe movement to others, nothing more and nothing less. You'll also see this notation used more in games like Guilty Gear or other anime fighters. Something to keep in mind is that different games may have different types of buttons as well. Street Fighter has your typical light punch, medium punch, heavy punch, light kick, medium kick, heavy kick, but something like Guilty Gear may have something totally different like punch, kick, slash, heavy slash, and dust. The motion inputs carry throughout these games, but I figured I'd mention this as well since going from this to any of these other formats isn't difficult, but it can be confusing. Now to go over what I think is actually hard in fighting games. I think this is where a lot of people call it quits with fighting games, besides getting their ass beat, of course. The execution and timing of moves can get crazy, and if you're not used to really digging into the mechanics of a fighting game, then sometimes even the basic stuff can be frustrating and annoying. However, this is something that even the best players in the world have struggled with and will continue to be challenged on, with the most recent example of this being the release of C. Viper in Street Fighter 6. This is a character who is known for her high execution compared to other characters in the roster. For the first week of her release, everyone was struggling with these combo trials because she took more work than what other people were used to. That's the thing though, if you put in the work and more importantly break down the execution and timing into small digestible bits, it will be much easier to wrap your head around how to execute and when to execute these moves. Sit in the lab and train it out until you get fully and utterly bored, and it becomes second nature. That's what the pros do, and that's why they're able to do shit like Ed's max damage level 2 in tournaments under pressure. A knowledge check is exactly what it sounds like. It is a check of your knowledge of the game mechanics, matchups, and understanding how a character works in a situation that you're in. An example of this would be Akuma and this bullshit that he does. Now, if you duck under this, you can punish the absolute shit out of him, but if you try to block this or try to interrupt it in any other kind of way, well, Akuma will totally override you and continue to combo the absolute dog shit out of you. And that's how a knowledge check works. You have the knowledge to know that when Akuma throws this out, you know that you need to duck. If you don't duck, well, you know you need to probably keep blocking to prepare for the rest of his string. A great way to learn these knowledge checks is to look back at the replay in question and look at the frame data, or lab the specific situation that you're getting pressed on and come to an understanding on how to deal with it. This not only helps you understand what answers you may be able to come up with to deal with this, but also helps you understand more about a character you don't play. This is something that comes with time playing the game and being introduced to these situations naturally as you fight. And now, to get pressed like a panini. You are going to get pressed in matches. It happens to everyone. Literally everyone. The key to turning the tables? Well, you need to learn how to adapt. Your opponent may spam the same move over and over, pushing you into a corner with drive rush, or whatever the fuck else they're coming up with. But it's up to you to adapt to their style. Take your time and patiently wait out your opponent. Notice the patterns they do, like if they jump constantly or burn their drive gauge. Take your time and learn how to download your opponent. And on the other side, be sure to mix up your moves to throw off your opponent. Condition them into thinking you'll keep doing something over and over, and then switch it up on them. Give them a hard time!
Think fast, chuckle nuts!
Reacting to moves is really hard. Sometimes your opponent will mix you just right in a way where you can't react in time, and that's okay. This kind of goes hand in hand with adapting to your opponent and also the knowledge checks. If you know what to look for, it's marginally easier to react, but it comes with time. For a game like Street Fighter 6 though, the biggest piece of advice I can give you is just learn how to react to drive impact. People abuse the shit out of drive impact, especially in lower ranks, and reacting to DI is a surefire way to cruise all the way up to plat easy. However, be wary that the higher you go in the ranks, the less DI you'll encounter, and the more strategically placed they'll be. This isn't a true constant, but folks do start to use their brains a little more. I do think that anybody can be good at fighting games, provided that they have the want to do so. It's like anything else, a skill that can be developed and honed. But also like anything else in life, it takes time, patience, and effort. The FGC is still young relative to other skill-based games that have existed for years. I mean, look at chess. With fighting games, we're really only talking about since the 90s, so people are still figuring out things for the community as a whole. Plus, the resource pool we have for gathering knowledge is infinite compared to the early days, even going into the modern time of fighting games. If you're looking to get into fighting games, now is the best time. There's tons of people getting into it along with you. Streamers are picking it up. The fighting game community is booming right now. Go to your locals, go support the shops that hold these tournaments, and just get good, man. It's It's not hard. I mean, it's really hard, but it's hard in a very satisfying way. Not a sexual way, just a satisfying way. Don't be weird about it. Anyway, I would love to hear your experience with fighting games in the comments below. I would love to talk to you guys about it. So if you have anything to say, just drop it below. I'll also, again, include guides for different things that I found super useful for myself way back in the day when I was learning, and they still very much apply to this day. So with that, I've been Sam Yost. Thank you for listening to me whine for however long this video's been going on, and yeah, see you in the next one.